Okay, I think it's time to get started. Well, first of all, I'm really glad to see so many of you today. My name is Kim Dong-jung, and I'm Associate Dean of Korea University Graduate School of International Studies. And together with the administrative staff and our student government representatives, I'll be your host today. And again, well, I'm really excited to have an opportunity to interact with you, although virtually. Okay, so for next 30 to 40 minutes, we are going to spend some time together going over a few different aspects of your life at Korea University GSIS. And we'll begin with why we need to do international studies and why you should choose KU GSIS over other programs. And then we'll discuss what you can learn here at KU GSIS, as well as the educational and other opportunities you can find here. We're also going to talk a little bit about logistical matters, including how you can pay for the degree here and what you might be able to do in the future. And don't forget that the representatives of our student association are here as well, and they will let you know more in detail about student life at KU GSIS. And when you have any questions, in addition to the ones you have already submitted before the meeting, please type your questions on the chat window, or you can just ask any questions that you might have during the Q&A session. Okay, let's begin with the big question. Why international studies? In a nutshell, you need to do international studies because many important developments in our time can be best understood and addressed through the frameworks and trainings provided by a program like ours. And to elaborate a bit, there are unfortunately many complex and intense problems confronting the governments and many civil societies around the world. And there's an ongoing war in Ukraine and as well as in the Middle East. And we went through the difficult time periods of public health crisis such as COVID-19. And natural disasters have increasingly become devastating and difficult to deal with. And we are also encountering technological revolutions such as introduction of AI that we still don't know what would be blessing or would pose more problems. And understanding and addressing these difficult challenges of our time require multi-dimensional approach. And the reason is quite straightforward. And that's because the fundamental nature of those problems is multi-dimensional. And we need to integrate different views from diverse social science as well as other academic disciplines. And KU GSIS offers multidisciplinary trainings, as well as paying careful attention to ethical challenges of our time. And this can be contrasted with other social science graduate programs, such as economics or political science, that have become quite discipline specific and to some extent significantly closer to a pure science. And therefore, if you seek relevance in international political, economic, development, or social affairs, you should come to our program rather than pursuing the traditional MA or PhD programs. Okay, having said that, then why you should choose Korea University GSIS over other schools? So why not, say, Yonsei or SNU? And there are many reasons, but I'll try to name just a few for the sake of time today. First of all, we have a world-class faculty, and we have professors who have been in leading positions in national governments, major UN organizations, academic organizations, research institutions, and more generally in diverse academic fields. And we also offer extensive opportunities to better understand contemporary international issues through diverse lectures and workshops on top of our extensive regular, say, academic program. And also note that there are only a handful of institutions in the world that actually are and indeed are capable of covering diverse ongoing topics from the academic as well as practical point of view. And we can proudly say KU GSIS is one of those unique institutions. And we offer opportunities for students to design and implement their own curriculum. based on their specific interests. And we also have a truly international student body representing about 50 countries and out of our 187 student body. So we are really a truly pluralistic academic community, and that's precisely why you should be able to choose Korean University GSIS over other institutions. Okay, then how does our program look like, and what can you learn at KU GSIS? Basically, we offer MA programs in international commerce, international development and cooperation, international peace and security, area studies, and Korean studies, as well as PhD programs in international commerce, international relations, international development, and Korean studies. And you can find more information on each of these programs on our website. We also have special programs and dual degree as well as exchange programs that are designed to reinforce your academic endeavor while you are a member of our academic community here at KU GSIS. And we do have a faculty who can meet diverse student demands. And to begin with, in international commerce, where faculty members study diverse aspects of international finance, international commerce, international business, multinational and multilateral economic cooperation, global production network, economic development, and so on and so forth. We have faculties like Professor Kim Jong-ho, Oh Jung-hoon, Kang Moon-sung, Lee Dong-eun, Robert Rudolph, Park Do-won, Choi Woo-jin, and Ju Hyung-suk. And each of these faculty members lead their research in many different dimensions of international commerce. And also of note is that they do address very, relevant questions of our time. So questions that have direct policy implications that are frequently dismissed in traditional economics departments. For instance, from the Korean point of view, one of the critical issues of our time is the consequences of investing huge amount of money, like $350 billion in the United States on South Korean economic performance. And quite strangely, many economic experts in economics programs do not really investigate those questions, and therefore cannot really offer an academic answer to a critical question like that. But our faculty, for instance, professors like Professor Choi Woo-jin, have directly delved into questions like that, questions with direct policy implication, and can offer important and useful insights to pressing economic questions of our time. And when we turn to international peace and security, we are definitely second to none in terms of our faculty composition. We have Professors Kim Byung-gi, Kim Sung-han, Kim Sung-eun, Lee Jae-seung, Im Si-jung, Park Sung-kyung, Seo Chang-lok, Han Jung-sun, Wang An-ran, as well as myself, who investigate important topics in major research areas of international security as well as peace. And when we turn to international development and cooperation, we have faculty who covers important topics in that important area of our time. So when you apply the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, you can see that our faculty can be associated with one or more of the specific goals of the SDG. And when you focus on the social sector of the SDG, there are Professor Seo Chang-lok, as well as Lee Seung-ho, Koch Potter, Robert Rudolph, Kang Gyu-won, and Kim Sung-eun. And when you are to examine economic dimensions of the SDGs, professors of international commerce could be where you can find individuals to work with. And when you are to focus on the environmental dimension, Professors Lee Jae-seung and Jung So-young are our experts. When you are to examine questions related with peace, professors of international peace and security are the ones who you can listen to. Last but not least, many of our faculty also have area specialization, which means they offer courses and trainings on diverse regions of the world. So in East Asia, we have Professors Han Jung-sun and Wang An-ran, who can provide you with important insights about Japanese and Chinese domestic and foreign affairs, respectively. And on Europe, we have Professors Kim Byung-gi and Lee Jae-sung, who will be more than happy to work with you guys. And on Korea, we have Professors Kim Eun-gi, Seo Do-won, Park Sun-kyung, and Lee So-eun, who are conducting many important and interesting research on diverse social, economic, and political issues of South Korea, as well as entire Korean peninsula. And in addition to this, you can visit our research centers, such as Center for East Asian Studies and Jean Monnet EU Center, if you're interested in doing area studies on those regions. And I know many of you are interested in majoring in international development and cooperation, so I'd like to briefly emphasize that we offer quite a solid career path in IDC majors. And of course, that's not only pertaining to IDCs, but I just want to give an example. So through the coursework and other activities at KU GSIS, you can acquire quite substantial theoretical knowledge. Then we quite strongly encourage and actually help you to acquire more practical knowledge, the diverse certificate programs, as well as internship opportunities. And eventually, we are more than happy to help you become an expert in IDC with both theoretical and practical knowledge, and who is going to be ready to work in diverse public and private organizations, NGOs, as well as international organizations. For instance, you can think about a recently appointed South Korean representative to UNHCR, which is a really huge and important international organization. And Kim Tae-ryo was appointed as a South Korean representative to that organization. She is the one who went precisely through this process of training offered at GSIS. Okay, and next, let me talk very briefly about degree requirements. So for MA students, we offer both thesis and non-thesis tracks in each major to allow you to choose specialization through additional coursework or independent and faculty-guided thesis research. So for thesis track in MA, there are coursework to be completed, usually during the first 3 semesters of the program. The students move on and write and develop a thesis with the help of their advisors, usually by the end of their 4th semester. And you can find more detailed information about, say, requirements for each, say, program on our website. And for non-thesis track students, our main focus will be to help you acquire more professional knowledge through more coursework. So non-thesis track MA students are expected to take 2 more major elective courses in order to attain their MA degree. And for Korean studies majors, the framework is basically quite similar, but there are a few courses you need to take in order to have an in-depth knowledge about Korea. And again, you can see this information at Korean University GSIS website anytime. And again, many detailed information as well as other resources are quite clearly and straightforwardly available on our website. Okay, let me skip this. In case of PhD program, I'd like to emphasize that we went through recently a very comprehensive reform of the program in order to facilitate completion of the degree. And you can see course requirements here in this slide, as well as on our website. But to be more precise, now we allow PhD students to write a thesis comprised of 3 essays on their respective topics, some of which can be published before they graduate. And also note that our PhD program has recently reformed our comprehensive exam or qualification exam, and it has become quite simple and straightforward. So for instance, if you are majoring in a particular research topic, then you can come up with your own design of comprehensive exam, of course, through the discussions your thesis advisor. So the goal of comprehensive exam is more directly challenging you to have a substantial knowledge about the particular issue area of your choice. But in general, our recent reforms in PhD programs would have quite significantly made things easy for our PhD students to actually complete their degree. Okay, and in addition to these standard academic programs, we also offer additional opportunities for you to acquire more specific knowledge in diverse areas of your interest. And we have quite a number of certificate programs, including the ones noted here. But what we can quite clearly note of through these certificate programs is that they're basically frameworks designed to help you to become somewhat more of an expert in specific regions and practices. So for instance, if you are to take courses to acquire certificate of completion in human rights studies, well, there are certain courses that are necessary for you to attain this certificate. But while taking those courses, you can truly become an expert of diverse conceptual, theoretical, and practical issues of human rights. Excuse me. And we also offer Korean University GSIS exclusive dual degree and exchange programs with places like American University in Washington, D.C., Kobe University in Japan, Fudan University in Shanghai, SOAS in London, Waseda in Tokyo, Diplomatic Academy of Vienna, on top of our Korean University, more general graduate exchange programs. And if you find, moreover, a course of interest in other programs in Korean University, well, there are a number of different graduate schools within Korean University, and you can go there, of course, asking the professor's permission and take the course and attain credit that could be converted for our credit, which could be used for your completion of degree. And to elaborate a little bit more about the quite famous program called Campus Asia program. And well, this is a program that basically lets you visit Fudan University or Kobe University and attain a joint degree. And if you're a Korean national, you can get your tuition waived, as well as getting financial support for airfare, accommodation, and language training. But even if you are not a Korean national, there could be a significant degree of support if you pursue Campus Asia program, although the specific content of the support diverge every semester. And it's also important to note that Korean University GSIS is running its BK21 program, and recently what has been recognized by the Korean Ministry of Education as one of the best run programs in the country. So as many of you might know already, BK21 is a governmental program to support and nurture graduate students in Korea. So it offers an array of financial support to graduate students. And one can say that you must have a BK21 program to be qualified as a good graduate program in Korea. And KU GSIS is definitely one of those recognized graduate programs in Korea and explores the topic of global conflict management. But more straightforwardly and practically, our BK21 program offers students with scholarships for their study at KU GSIS, as well as support for diverse academic endeavors by our students, including but not limited to the international travels to present their papers in leading international, say, conferences. And we also have Global Human Rights Program, which support trainings in human rights issues through lectures and internship opportunities. And similar training opportunities are available at our Center for Climate and Marine Governance program. Excuse me. And we are also offering digital commerce expert program, which allows students to attain scholarships and certificates by taking a few courses on digital trade. So as you can see that digitalizing is a trend in international trade, and this program allows you to become an expert of important aspects of digital commerce. And if you are a Korean University College of International Studies undergraduate student, you can also pursue an option of a 3+2 program, which allows you to graduate with an MA degree on top of your BA degree in 5 years. Now, let's move on to an important issue, which is about how to pay for your study at KU GSIS. Well, to put it straightforwardly, we offer quite a significant amount of financial support to our students in forms of scholarship. For Korean students, you're eligible for scholarship for outstanding students, TA/RA scholarship, BK21 scholarship, Campus Asia program scholarships, and these scholarships would cover part or even all of your tuition. But of course, some of these programs' selection process can be highly competitive. But nonetheless, note that last year we provided more than 360 million won worth of money as scholarships to our students. Our international students also enjoy diverse financial benefits in forms of scholarships, and international students are eligible to international scholarships, Korean University governmental scholarship programs, KU GSIS BK21 scholarships, KOICA scholarship, and Campus Asia program scholarships. And last year, we offered around 260 million won worthy of scholarships to our international students, which indeed is a considerable amount. Okay, I think I've talked too much up to this point, so I'd like to turn the microphone to our student council members, who's going to introduce student activities here at Korean University GSIS.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Victoria. I'm currently the student council president at our KU GSIS. So I just wanted to kind of introduce a little bit of student life and specifically focusing on student council. But just to add on to what was already mentioned, there's really a lot of opportunities at KU GSIS. I myself have taken advantage of a lot of the BK21s, societies, certificates, and as you can see now, student council, so I really recommend it. So we at GSIS have a kind of large student council. As you can see here, I'm in my third semester, I'm IPS, and I'm from the US, but we have a wide variety of students coming from a lot of different countries, a lot of different majors. So we have communications teams and events teams. So if this is something like later on, if you're interested in joining, it's very much open to everyone. But what do we do as student council for you as students? So if you were to come to GSIS, which I hope you do, our role is to kind of convey important information. Of course, this information is posted online. The admin office does have their website and notice board. But sometimes if you don't check it that often, we do our best to also try and communicate that directly to you via Kakao Talk, Instagram, different social media methods. But also building community both on and off campus. So a lot of people, if you're an international student, it might be your first time in Korea. If you're a Korean student, maybe it could be hard to make friends with non-Korean students. So we try to give opportunities for you to really get to know each other through different activities, but not only with KU GSIS students, but we also interact with SNU and Yonsei and other universities here in Seoul. We try to do our best to support you with different issues that you might have throughout your semester and even before coming to GSIS. So if you have a problem or a question, of course, there are certain things that we also won't know, but we're also students, right? And have gone through the same things that most people have. So we do our best to kind of share our experiences and give tips to the things that we know about. So, if you ask us a very specific visa question, that's probably better suited to immigration or admin even, but if you're asking about housing even, that's something that we can do our best to kind of guide you on different tips and tricks. And of course, we have a lot of fun events throughout the semester. So we'll introduce a couple of them. So every semester we'll have a welcome party followed by a coffee social and different campus tours in order to get you new students kind of comfortable and familiar with our university. This is getting to know the campus, knowing where classes are, what the best place to study is, different important information, but also getting to know each other and making friends and making those connections, because that's one of the great things about grad school is now that you have all these connections from all around the world, different majors, different backgrounds, so really great. We also this year held our first MT since Corona in 2019 was the last time they had an MT. So if you don't know what an MT is, it's just like a team building overnight trip just to get to know each other, build those relationships. We also have on the top photo here is a inter-GSIS picnic that we have with SNU and Yonsei every semester. So actually this year, this semester's picnic is in 2 days. So looking forward to that. But also events like bowling or an end of semester party, just opportunities to not only focus on your studies, but also make sure you have a really good student life too, because while graduate school is very much focused on your studies, it's also about enjoying maybe your time in Korea or making friends or building connections. Also just wanted to show off the Koyeon Games is one of the big events that KU has each year. And those are opportunities that we as KU GSIS students are able to participate in. We have our own sections. We're invited to these different, not only GSIS events, but Korea University events as a whole. And just as an example, we wanted to show you, this was an example calendar that we did for Student Council events this September. As you might be able to see, it's quite busy. So we try to give you a lot of opportunities that if you want to get involved, if you want these kinds of events and different ways to get to know people, those options are there. If you're not interested in them, of course, you don't have to sign up, but we really encourage you to do that and to make the most of it if you do choose to come to GSIS. We can be found on Instagram if you have any questions that the admin office, you can of course email the admin office if you're looking at applying, but if you want to hear maybe from more of a student perspective, you have some questions that you would like to ask, feel free to send us an email or a DM. Both are here visible, the email address or the Instagram account. We will do our best to answer all your questions, give you our feedback, our opinions. If you want to know why we came to KU over different universities, we're very happy to explain that. And with that being said, we really hope to see you at Korea University in the coming spring, and we hope that you do decide to apply. Thank you.
That was our student government representative. And if you have any questions to the members of the student government, you can definitely direct your questions to them directly, mainly through email. But also you can type in your questions in the chat window or ask your questions immediately after the presentation today. Okay, and I think I'm quite sure we are getting closer to the end of the session today. But before I finish, I'd like to emphasize one more thing, which is our postgraduate job opportunities. In a series of our recent surveys of our graduate students, we found that many of our students are doing quite well in terms of their job prospects. So in the most recent survey, we could discover that quite well above half of the respondents were employed. Many have found jobs in private sector, NGOs, public institutions, international organizations, or academic institutions. And some of the cases are listed in this slide. And there's one point I can emphasize through these survey results, and that is our program at GSIS did indeed help students advance their career wherever they eventually chose to work at. So to conclude, I'd like to ask you to join our program and become part of a great tradition that engages with global challenges of our time. And here's the timetable for your application. You can also find these admission schedules on our website. And if you'd like to know more about us, you can visit our website or these social media communication links. And again, you are definitely always welcome to ask your questions at any point, either to our administrative office, to our, say, graduate student organization, or to myself, of course, depending on the nature of your question at hand. Okay, I think this is it for the presentation part of the session today, and let's now turn to the Q&A part. through which I would really like to talk about the concerns or issues that you might have. If you have any question, just like Young Da-sum, you can type the question in the chat window, which might be a bit more convenient way of asking your questions, while we are also trying to go over the questions that you have already submitted before the session. Okay, about the undergraduate major in applying to GSIS master's program, as far as I am concerned, we don't have restrictions in student major. Okay, so what really matters is for you to have, say, good amount of motivation to pursue an expertise in international commerce, international peace and security, or international cooperation and development, as well as in Korean studies. Okay, in case of contacting professors, I can definitely do that. But if you are applying for the MA program, I would say that's not necessary. But if you're applying for PhD program, you must contact a professor. That's not something that pertains to Korean university, but any PhD program around the world. To advance to a PhD degree, you must have a prospective advisor. If not, you are going to get rejected. Okay, let me be clear about that. Okay, I think the question just posted about scholarship could be better answered by our admin office. hen정재 선생님, 외국인 학생 장학금 지원하는 시기 관련해서 답변 주시면 좋겠습니다. The class question about undergrad GPA, it does play a role, but not necessarily a decisive role. But we do take into account many different dimensions in an application package. We pay attention to your, achievements that are described in numbers such as GPAs, but we also pay attention to your intended research topic, as well as your other evidence that can suggest your ability to pursue an MA degree. And in that context, I think one of the questions submitted was about how detailed your SOP need to be with regard to your research agenda. Well, it would be great if you can offer a detailed account of your intended research topic, but at this stage, it's quite acceptable to have a vague idea about what you want to do. Because after all, as you advance your study here at GSIS, what you want to write as your thesis will probably change. So you don't need to have a very clear-cut research topic represented in your SOP, but of course, it's always needed and helpful to have a somewhat elaborate idea about what you want to study. Okay, about the questions on PhD program. So with regard to the length of PhD study here at GSIS, well, I cannot really give you a very straightforward number about the duration for completing a PhD program, because it hugely really varies depending on student. And some student actually quite a few students take about 10 years to finish their degree. whereas some students definitely get things done within like 3 to 4 years. So as long as you can go forward with your schedule, and then students can finish PhD program quite in a quite brief period of time. And also about the proportion of students continuing to work while pursuing a PhD program, I think I would be able to say the majority of students are working while they are pursuing their PhD program in among the PhD students. The application and interview process, I think while working overseas. So I would be able to say our general policy is to have everyone, if they are Korean national, to join the the interview session. But there could be exceptions made depending on circumstances. But you should definitely make it clear when you apply that you are going to be overseas and see whether other arrangement could be made. Okay, about the internship for peace and security majors. Okay, let me just briefly talk about internship opportunities in general, as well as in IPS majors in particular. So in case of internships at Korean university, or more generally even in Korea, if you're a graduate student, I can quite clearly suggest if you go out and seek, you can get a good internship opportunity or a number of opportunities. But if you sit idly by and expect someone is going to bring an internship opportunity to you, well, you won't get anything. You have to, and you must behave quite actively in order to secure an internship opportunity. KU GSIS, whether it be admin office or the professors, or more generally entire university, tries to a good job in securing internship opportunities for our students. But those opportunities are usually given and actually taken by students who actively go out and seek for those opportunities. And in that context, in case of MA in IPS, I can say there are opportunities for internship, but if you are not willing to go out of the classroom and actively go out and seek opportunities, contacting people, well, you won't get an opportunity. So at graduate program, different from undergrad program, you must behave actively. Okay, I think admin office, 행정실 선생님, you can answer the question by Jong-han here. About the number of admitted students per semester, well, the number vary quite significantly, and actually we try to accept as many students as possible who are, of course, qualified, but space is not always luxury in our case. So I would be able to suggest around the year, say around 50 to 60 will be approximate number. In case of the Korean nationals, but in case of international students, well, the number is significantly different. And we've still got plenty of time, so please take your time and think about any question that you might have.
Sir, thank you so much. Is it okay to ask questions lively like this?
Oh, perfectly fine.
Thanks. So actually, it is my very first time to, prepare, apply for PhD, and I've never contacted any professor so far. So, do you have any recommendations or how can I reach out to professors in GSIS, or is it? I think email gonna be the best way to initiate the conversation, I think. But if you can share some skills and tips, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, that's actually a very important and good question. So if you're applying a PhD program, quite generally, not only KU GSIS, but any program around the world, you must look up the professors who you want to work with, right? And you need to do some research. What kind of topics they are investigating? What are the titles and arguments of their ongoing research projects, right? And in what kind of specific topics those scholars are going to be working on in years to come. And based on those research, you got to know, okay, this person is consistent with my interest, research interest. And then you reach out, of course, usually through email. Okay, and then you basically and quite explicitly say, I'm interested in studying under your supervision at your PhD program. And the professor would respond. And that means where we can begin the conversation. But if the professor doesn't respond, it could mean quite a few things. That could be, in many occasions, well, unfortunately, but that means the professor is not that active in seeking graduate students, whether it be, again, Korea or overseas, right? Some scholars are not doing actively in terms of student trainings. So that could be a sign that, okay, you shouldn't work with these people. Okay. So do some research and contact the professor. That's the point where you can begin.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, to the question by Shinda-in, well, in general, well, I can say if you are to pursue an advanced degree, whether it be MA or PhD, well, that means you are trying to become an expert of a particular research area or particular topic. That means it will be, say, useful for you to describe more in detail about your particular topic of interest, in your case, in international development and cooperation. But in reinforcing your interest or your ability to pursue your topic, you can definitely describe a little bit about your background in international studies. So the main story is about international development and cooperation, but tell the reader that I have background in international studies more generally, which could be employed to reinforce my pursuit of research. I think 행정실 선생님, you can answer the Kim Hee-young's question here. And my answer is provided. Well, I would like to address some of the questions collected before the session today. And one of the questions will be about designing your, courses while at graduate school. So basically, well, there are certain things you need to take as your mandatory courses, whereas you can choose definitely your major electives. And with regard to the structuring of your course, well, we offer certificate programs, and they are designed to say, facilitate selection of your courses depending on your area of interest. And also, while putting that option aside, well, basically, you would first need to think about your requirements, and then what would be important would be to focus on what your interests are, right? So follow your interest in choosing the courses. But if you are also concerned about diverse logistical matters like workloads and so on and so forth, you can probably talk with our graduate student representatives who know quite a lot about those workloads in each class. Okay, for thesis and non-thesis tracks. So as the title says, thesis track is about writing a thesis in order to complete your MA, whereas non-thesis track is about taking more courses. the big difference, the major difference between thesis and non-thesis track MAs is the number of courses, major electives you are required to take. Non-thesis students are to take about 2 more major courses. Okay, about the question by Choi Yoon-hee, question number 1 about SOAS dual degree program. Yes, once a student is selected to do a dual degree program with SOAS, the student also can apply for BK21 scholarship that support that particular study at SOAS. But it also goes through a selection process, and you can attain at least some partial support for your expenses while doing study at SOAS in London. Okay, and in terms, excuse me, of the number of semesters a student can receive scholarships, well, I think the question can be answered more straightforwardly by 한정실 선생님 to Ms. Chae-yoon's question. Oh, I mean, the question was about the maximum number of semesters or months. But as far as I know, if you are in your last semester, you cannot apply to certain scholarships, like BK21 scholarships, but you can apply to other scholarships and so on and so forth. Okay, yeah, that's another question answered. About the dorm to international students, well, to that, I think our admin office can offer the answer. About the international student acceptance rate, well, it varies quite hugely depending on every semester. So in some occasions, well, it can be lower than 50%, but in other occasions, it can be higher than that. And now about the reference letter from Im Jung-min, 행정실 선생님, can you answer the question, please? Okay, about the joining research centers as a master student. So basically in the academia, quite generally, well, you contact the individual who is running those centers in order to join as a research assistant or even as a researcher. Okay, so as I mentioned, whether it be an intern or an RA or other, say, opportunities you can pursue while doing your MA degree, you must go out and seek them. Okay, professors as well as our admin office work really hard to secure internship opportunities. We make networks, we make contacts, and consistently ask those institutions to hire our students as MAs. However, you have as our interns, however, you have to go out and seek those opportunities. Okay, no one is going to feed you with internship chances. But if you don't go out and ask professors, admin office, or more generally, say our boards, opportunities are going to be taken by others who do indeed act very, say, actively, or if in some occasions quite aggressively. So you need to, the more you act, the more you're gonna get. So going back to the issue of getting internship opportunities at research center, again, you should contact the professor directly. We are going to be happy to answer basically any question that you might have. So please don't hesitate to type in your question in the chat window, or just like one of the students did today, just speak out if you have any question. About Global Korean Studies Scholarship, henderson 선생님, can you clarify the question on GKS 장학금, please? Okay, about the percentage of students receiving scholarships every semester, well, we can, I think, quite safely say around, say, among the first semester students, almost all the students receive at least certain amount of scholarship. But later on, or depending on student performance and their other circumstances, well, there could be students who are gaining more scholarships compared with others. But say, without taking into account differences in amount, I can say about almost, say, 70 to 80 students are getting some form of scholarship while they are pursuing their degree. Yeah, there was a question about SOP, but I'm not sure what you mean by professor's thesis, but in case of SOPs, well, if you're applying for an MA program, well, I think the main focus will be describing what your interests are. Okay, so what you want to study, at least a brief description of that will be necessary, and delving deeper into your potential supervisor's research topic might not be necessary. But in case of your application for a PhD program, again, you must contact the professor first and show some kind of proof to the evaluation committee that you are really having consistent research interest with that professor. Okay, for MA students finding supervisor. Well, usually students find a supervisor by taking certain professors, say, courses. So you can definitely, of course, look up their research agenda and current research topics of certain professors and contact them and ask them if they could be their advisor. But to be more, say, safe, actually, and to be more convenient, well, students usually decided to contact a professor with whom they did at least part of the coursework. Okay, we still have a few more minutes left, so please go ahead if you have any questions. Okay, about the specialized track, I'm not certain what you mean by specialized track, but in case of your major, whether it be IPS, ITC, or IC, you choose your major when you apply for the program. But if you are talking about the certificate programs, that's not a competitive thing. So if you take certain set of courses, then you get the certificate. But in case of, say programs like digital commerce, the selection process indeed is there, and that could be a bit competitive. Okay, about the questions on master's degree interview, well, I cannot say with certainty because it depends on the interviewer, which are usually our full-time faculty members. But I can say generally questions like what your research interests are, right? Or what you want to do while you are studying here at GSIS, or what you want to do after graduating at GSIS, or just like those usual questions, as well as what you mean by something you wrote in your SOP. You're welcome. Okay, I think time is almost up. And well, again, I thank each and every one of you who could make time to join the session today. And if you have anything coming up to your mind after the session, you can direct those questions either to our admin office, to our graduate student association, or to myself, of course, depending on the nature of the question. If you have questions about the administrative processes or issues like the conditions for getting scholarships and so on and so forth, you can send your question to our admin office. But if you have questions about things like course selection or student life, you should head to our graduate student government president. Or if you have other questions, then of course you can direct those questions directly to myself. Okay. All right, we'd like to conclude our session today. And again, thanks for coming and good luck with your application. Thank you. Thank you very much.